T.B.Photo X1.5 and welcome back to another video. Well, as you can maybe see, or rather the title might see, this is a bit of a flea market walk around here in Uppsala. So yeah, I film most of the things with the Panasonic action cam. Never remember what it is called, the model description on it, but anyway, let's move on. Yeah, the thing is, I went around to a couple of flea markets in the rain, as you will see, yeah, this is basically the only thing that I managed to get away with. MYRORNA ants. It's an organization, national. I don't know if they are available in other nations as well, but they're quite prevalent here. And the good thing, if you are a student and you show your student card, your CSN card, you will actually get a little bit of a discount at this store chain. So very recommended, and most of the proceeds goes to a good cause anyway. Tack för det här. Yeah, I'm just reading on the back, but actually there was one book that I managed to get, and it is Bokförlag Max Ström. Yeah, and it's a coffee table book. Let's see, just put the bag over here on the couch, and yeah, Lennart Nilsson, Life. I mean, this guy I have talked about before on the channel. Lennart Nilsson was a photographer. He was one of the few photographers who were allowed to photograph Ingmar Bergman and his family. He shot a lot of, reportage type deal, and excuse me, he shot a lot of, news photography and so on. But Nilsson was also an honorary doctorate at the Caroline Institute of Stockholm. And I managed to get this book for about 40 Swedish kronor, I mean $4, something like €4, about that. I'm usually rounding it up to 10 Swedish kronor is about €1 or $1. And Nilsson was famous for his medical extreme close-up photography. When I went to, if you look back in my playlist, you can see when I went to a digital day in Stockholm, I visited the Technical Museum of Stockholm out on Gärdet, as it's called, and during that exhibition they had something called the Photographing Human, en fotograferande människan. And in that exhibition they actually had the electron microscope used by Lennart Nilsson when he took some of these very intricate photographies. And yeah, I'm gonna do some B-roll on this book as well, but his most fabled photos, apart from the one of fetuses and so on, is also these medical or electron microscope and medical close-up, microscopic, and extreme close-up photographs. And what Nilsson actually talked about in an interview he did shortly before he passed away, he was over 90 years old. Nilsson talked about how when he did these electron microscope images, they were usually in black and white, because that was the only thing the electron microscope could produce when he did them. And then he went to a retoucher who actually colored in his negatives. And they're some of the most beautiful medical photos in the world today, in my opinion. And a lot of images is about, how a embryo becomes a fetus and how a fetus becomes an infant. And it's really, really amazing images, and I think that I got this for a steal actually, because it's hard to appreciate the amount of work going into making these images, and they're beautiful. Thinking about how the primitive technology, because what was actually the thing was the biologists and doctors at the Caroline Institute in Stockholm, they had taken these images themselves, but they didn't have the the creative eye or the aesthetic eye of a real photographer. So they had a problem with getting the type of, what should we call it? The capturing the imagination of the viewer. But that's when Nilsson came in with his ability to see the the artistic way of taking these images, because that wasn't simply not around at the time that before Nilsson. Before Nilsson, medical photography was basically very boring. But when he started to publicize his images that he had taken, that's how he became an honorary doctorate of the Caroline Institute, because of his ability to capture motion and capturing the imagination of a new generation on how the body works. And if you look at a lot of medical literature, even today, a lot of these images that Nilsson took in basically the 60s and 70s, and maybe up to the 80s, I don't really know, but a lot of these old, now very old school, over 30-year-old images that Nilsson produced, they're still the basis for a lot of medical literature. And that's kind of cool. And I've said this at numerous occasions before. Sweden has actually, just a couple of years ago, we changed our notes in our currency system, but the old 20 crown note or bill, or whatever you want to call it, depending on your nation, it had on one side, it had Carl von Linné, who was a biologist here in Uppsala, not biologist, paleologist, no. Yeah, he was interested in cataloging flowers, a botanist, but also a biologist. He was a fixture here associated with Uppsala University, and unfortunately also about with race research and, yeah, he was one of the pioneers, unfortunately, in race studies, but that is a couple of 100 years ago. But he's still, a fixture for one of the first people who really categorized the flowers and gave them proper Latin names. But that's just history, and we should not be afraid of learning the truth about history. But back to the point. It was the 100 kroner bill, not the 21. That was an author, a female author. But Linné was on one side of the 100 note bill, or whatever you want to call it, and on the other side was the fly image, an electron microscope image made by Lennart Nilsson. So that's a little bit of a interesting story on how important this photographer has been for Sweden, because we even had him on 100 kroner note, bill, whatever you want to call it. So yes, I mean, these images, they are, embryo at 22 days, 24 days, 5 weeks, how the embryo, really evolves into a human being. It's really beautiful images, and yeah, I'll just skim through this a little bit, but I'm gonna do it. Hopefully I have some B-roll of me flipping through the book here for you to watch it, because these images are extremely unique. They are very, very interesting indeed for anybody who has interest in biology or life in general. These are timeless photographs, and I would really recommend anybody who's into it. Life, Livet by Lennart Nilsson. And I'm gonna read here on the back side. Lennart Nilssons nya bok är en storslagen resa genom människokroppen från DNA och kromosomer via embryon av foster till den vuxna människan. Detta är inte enbart ett urval av hans allra bästa bilder. Det är en inträngande skildring av vårt inre universum. And I'm gonna try to, just translate this to the best of my ability to English. Leonard Nilsson's new book is a grand journey through the human body, from DNA and chromosomes via embryos and fetuses to the adult human being. This is not just a selection of his absolutely best images, it is an intriguing depiction of our inner universe. And I think that is the best summarization of Nilsson's images. It is the human being's inner universe. It's completely mesmerizing, and it's thrilling to see. And yeah, unfortunately Nilsson is no longer with us, but these images will live on for a long time, in my opinion. So yeah, but I think we will end it there. Actually, I don't want to blather on about this to eternity, but anyway, as always, yeah, I know that this series, when I'm now in Uppsala, is going to be a little bit different than what I'm usually broadcasting on this channel. Or can I call it broadcasting? Yeah, anyway, it's going to be a little bit different because now school has to take top priority in order for me to get my degree. That yeah, that's basically common sense, that has to take priority. So if I'm going a couple of weeks without uploading anything, that's basically just the way it is for the foreseeable future. But all in all, I'm gonna try to make the best of the situation and hope you will be along for the ride. But as always, this is Tobias Bergström from T.B.Photo X1.5 I'd like to see you guys in the next video. And as always, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next video. So take care from now on. Bye.